Boom, I'm in the room. Good evening, everybody. Good afternoon, good morning, wherever you're watching from. Welcome. My name's Lord Hill, and I'm coming to you live from the old Hill Manor. Now, you're probably watching this because there's nothing on the telly. Now, tonight, I've got a guest in. Really looking forward to this conversation. It's going to be a really good one. But before we do that, just to let you know that the live awesome quiz is now just gone to once a month, the first Wednesday of the month. So tune in over on the quiz channel to get that. The reason we've done that is because life's catching up on us. We were kind of nearly burning out, so we're just taking a little bit of a break from it. The Duchess, she's worked incredibly hard over this last year, writing the quizzes. It's a real challenge getting them done every week. But this channel's not about that. This channel's all about mental health, mental well-being, and taking the stigma out of it. Now, this evening, I'm going to have a chat with my guest, and I'll bring her on in just a second, but we're going to look at stem cell and the relation with it to PTSD and some other ailments, if I can say that. So, without too much further ado, I'm going to bring in my guest. So, Darlene, welcome to the old Hill Manor.
Thank you. Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here and an honor as well.
No, it's my honour. I mean, you're an ex-military type yourself, so, and yeah, veterans together.
That's right. That's right.
So just a quick one. What service were you in, and what rank did you
I was
attain?
the United States Navy, and I did 20 years, and I retired as a Navy commander, which is an '05.
Oh, naval commander, mum.
Thank you, sir.
Brilliant. I only did 44 years and ended up as a colour sergeant,
Hey, that 44 years is an
which is
amazing
which is
contribution. But thank you for your service.
OR7. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Anyway, darling, before we get into the chat, if you can give us a little bit of your background, a little bit about what you'd like to talk about this evening, which sounds absolutely fascinating, and I'll come up with some, hopefully, searching questions for you. So, over to you, sir, ma'am.
Absolutely. Thank you. Well, as someone who has had PTSD and has had to work through that, and someone who has worked with a lot of military in helping them work through depression, anxiety, PTSD, and the things that they went through, um, I I have discovered something that actually has the most amazing, phenomenal impact. I just wish I knew about it back in 2005 when I built the Returning Warrior Weekend workshop for my veterans, my active duty military who are going off to war and coming back and reintegrating, because I've seen and experienced such a huge improvement. You'll see me talk about things. I want to say right up front that I'm going to talk about LifeWave's X39 product, but I want to make sure I say this disclaimer that it's not intended to cure, treat, diagnose, or prevent any disease. What I'm also going to do is in the in the United Kingdom, it's acceptable to talk about how X39 activates your own stem cells. But I'm going to be very careful about that because in the United States, where I am right now, it is not. The FDA owns the word stem cell. And so I will talk about it elevating copper peptide GHKCU. And then I can talk about studies where GHKCU actually elevates your stem cells. And then we'll talk about all the benefits, including people who have reversed their PTSD, that have had PTSD for decades and years, depression, anxiety, the studies and what they show on the mapping of the brain. We'll talk about a lot of other ailments and organ functions and improvements that people experience, from heart and cardiovascular to other things. I will share with you how I found this. Was my husband was diagnosed with a neurological decline 4 years ago that many of you are familiar with. It takes away the memory, task processing, and the ability to recognize people. Now he still recognizes me. He's not that far gone, but he is like 5 years old at this point in time. And about February, March timeframe, I'd broken my foot, I'd sprained my ankle, I was kind of laid up, and I was having to ask my husband for everything, including a glass of water. And I would say I was absolutely in the throes of a depression, wanting to cry every day, not only in pain, but just in emotional pain, because there was just no, I think I was finally accepting this is how bad it is with my husband, and this is my life, and it's just not something to stick your head in the sand and dodge. And we had tried, I just want to say, we had tried going out of country and try to help him with stem cell IV therapy. We had done hyperbaric chamber. We had done blood ozone spinning therapy. We had obviously done diet and exercise. In fact, you had a guest on your show talking about keto. We followed the Dr. Bredesen protocol. We did huge efforts for deep sleep. We do infrared sauna, regular exercise, took everything out of the diet. We have this saying, if it tastes good, spit it out. We took out sugar and white flour, genetically modified foods, really cleaned up everything to make it organic and grass-fed and all of that to try to make sure we're eliminating and reducing the number of toxins that went to his brain. Nothing made a difference. The decline continued until these stem cell activation patches for you in UK and in the United States, these patches that activate the GHK-Cu copper peptide. When he started on the patch in that first week, there was a dramatic improvement where he went from sleeping 3.5 hours a day and falling asleep. He improved and stopped napping, just didn't take a nap anymore at all, where he was no longer engaging in conversations because it was just too challenging. He couldn't come up with the right word, so he was withdrawing and really becoming a shell of himself. He then was engaging. He was chattier than he had been in a year, and not only chatty, but was firing off zingers and funny again. And funny was the core of his personality. So when he stopped even trying to be funny, it was bad. But he was right back at it, and on point with these conversations. So in a week, I got my husband back, and now he's not by a long stretch cured, or he still has the problems, but not like he did before. Much more energy and much more his personality. And in fact, over time wearing the patches, he improved his several neurological skills, like the ability to drum to the beat and the ability to whistle. He'd lost those. 15 years ago, he lost the ability to smell. And the ability to smell is related to neurological decline. If you didn't know that, it's worth getting checked out. Well, he regained the ability to smell after about 5 months on the patches. So I'll talk a little bit about what those were. But before I do, I experienced this lift of mood. And certainly I had more energy in the first week using the patches, which certainly helped. I was in the kitchen cooking, and I'm thinking, I don't know why I hated cooking so much. Well, I think I just didn't have the energy. And when you're depressed and you're tired and that you don't have the energy. I had so much more energy. So I was in there cooking. I was happier. I had sought some therapy for my own depression. And after like a month, I said to the therapist, I just feel really good, and I don't really think I need to talk to you anymore. And she said, I don't think you do either. The clouds lifted, the darkness, I had hope. I was feeling better. I was getting deeper sleep. My husband was getting deeper sleep. We're after 4 years of trying to get him into deep sleep, because that's when the brain flushes toxins. We put red lights in. We weren't eating before bed. We were exercising. We were doing melatonin. We were doing all the things you could do to get deep sleep, putting our eyes on the sun in the morning, and nothing was getting him beyond 15 minutes of deep sleep. So it was so frustrating. The second week on the pouches, his deep sleep went to an hour and 45 minutes, and I almost cried because I was like, that is amazing. Got the best deep sleep ever charted for us. And that continues to improve. And my deep sleep continues to improve. And you just feel a lot better when you get deep sleep. It's a lot easier to handle all of the world when you're getting good sleep. And then you have the energy to go exercise. So that was kind of how we began. And in the beginning, I just talked to friends and family about these patches and said, these are amazing. You have to try this. There's double-blind placebo-controlled studies, over 90 clinical studies. I am really frustrated that I didn't know about these patches 4 years ago when I first heard about my husband's diagnosis. I'm frustrated that it's not more in the media and the news, and some of that's because we have to be very careful about making any claims to treat, cure, or diagnose, because we're a general wellness product. We're not considered a medical product. Now, they're built in medical grade labs with, all sorts of ISO 9001 quality controls, but they are not they're like a little Band-Aid. They come in a little envelope like this. There's a little tiny patch like this. You put it anywhere on your body, behind the back of the neck, under the belly button is where the lab tests did it. And this little, what this does is, how when you go out in the sun, your body gets a light signal to make vitamin D or melanin for a suntan? Well, this patch reflects the light that's inside of you. And I know, Tim, that you know what I'm talking about. Looking through night vision goggles, you can see light in bodies. Well, you have light inside of you. And this patch is like a little mirror made up of crystal amino acids that reflect that back at a very specific wavelength to elevate your copper peptide. And nothing goes in the skin. It is hermetically sealed. You could actually have it on the outside of your clothes and it would still work. It can be in a pocket. It can be under a pillowcase. It doesn't have to be sticking to your body, but it's still going to work because it's like a double-sided mirror reflecting that light back into your body. And then let's just talk about some of the benefits to the brain. There's an amazing study, and before I actually jump there, for those of you in the UK, well, and LifeWave has a history. I can speak to the history of our company with regard to stem cells. So our inventor, David Smith, who's brilliant and also a wonderful human being, he turned his attention to stem cells in 2008. And in doing so, LifeWave spent over $4 million doing stem cell research. It was funded by the Scientific Foundation in Ireland, and they proved using pulses of electromagnetic fields that there could be beneficial effects on stem cell function. They also had, in this research at the National Laboratory at National University of Ireland, they demonstrated that the application of external low-frequency magnetic fields could enhance stem cell functions in animals, and then later that was proven to be effective in humans as well. So this research for stem cells is not new for the company. And then other research investigated the use of specific wavelength of light for improving a specific peptide called GHKCU and then also AHKCU. And if you haven't heard of GHKCU, this is a peptide that was first discovered by Dr. Lauren Picard, and it has shown independently. You can go to PubMed and you can type in GHKCU and you can see all the clinical studies independent that have nothing to do with our company or our product, but talk about the healing and the stem cell function. And in fact, there is a website called Reverse Aging with GHK. And what you'll find is that by increasing your GHK, which some people do via injections, but apparently a doctor that was injecting 4 times a day wasn't getting the same results of elevation of GHK as this little patch was doing. So elevating GHK increases stem cells and produces growth factors, restores healthy function in lung cells. It improves respiration to the cell. It is an antioxidant and anti-inflammatory. In fact, it not only increases SOD1 activity, but it suppresses NF-κB, which is believed to be the primary cause of many diseases of aging. This is key to our conversation today, brain and nerves. It alters expression of human genes. It induces a strong anti-anxiety and anti-aggression, and induces anti-pain, helps with cognitive function, memory, clarity, concentration, focus, energy, sleep, and angiogenesis, which is the growth of new blood cells. It also has been proven to show tremendous benefit to heart. And, heart is the number one killer of of the world. So by reducing fibrinogen synthesis, which is the top predictor of cardiovascular disease, it has a huge impact, and increasing myostatin, which inhibits heart failure. This GHKCU also has tremendous anti-cancer benefits, and it topped 1309 bioactive compounds, which is recommended for the treatment of colon cancer. It reset programmed cell death of human cancer cells, human neuroblastoma, leukemia, breast cancer cells, but it did not affect the healthy cells. It inhibited NFKBP65, which is believed to promote cancer. It repaired damaged DNA, and it reset 84 genes to growth or cancer inhibition. And then there's the skin and hair. It increased collagen synthesis. It increased collagen elastin in the body. It tightened loose skin, thickened older skin. It repaired and improved and reduced fine lines. It reduced photo damage like dark brown spots. And it also had a tremendous effect for accelerating wound healing and increasing healing in tissues like not just the skin, but stomach, intestine, lining, and bone tissue, all of which are just really making a huge difference. I also want to share with you that there's a book out by Dr. John Harmon. Dr. John Harmon is really passionate about reverse aging with copper peptide because he had a right branch bundle blockage in his heart that he didn't know about until he happened to have a test prior to a different kind of surgery for a repair and not related to his heart. And they found this right branch bundle blockage. He was using two patches that are in our portfolio, the X39 and a patch that reduces inflammation. And since inflammation eats up stem cells, what he wanted to do was reduce the inflammation and activate that copper peptide to create more stem cells. So he was on the patch for about a year. He went back to the doctor, did another scan, and his right branch bundle blockage was gone. And the doctor said, I've never seen that. In fact, several doctors said, I have never seen that. So he wrote a book called How to Reverse Aging with Copper, a comprehensive guide to copper peptide. And he goes in and he pulls all the various studies on copper peptide. And in there, you'll see in the chapters things like the body and copper peptides and the immune system, copper peptides in the skin, copper peptides in the cardiovascular system, the role of exercise, the role of copper in athletic performance, copper peptides and metabolic regulation, copper peptides in the brain, copper peptides in neurodegeneration, copper peptides in cognitive function, and the healing power of copper peptides, and then unleashing the power of copper peptides, activating stem cells for regeneration. Also, the intricate relationship of copper peptides and epigenetics. So anyway, those are the building blocks of what I'm here to talk about. And I guess what's also kind of interesting to me is that the company's been around 20 years, and that's why I'm frustrated that I didn't know about them before this year. But in fact, in the 2008 Olympics, over 300 Olympic athletes were wearing LifeWave patches, including like Serena Williams and Michael Phelps, and actually David Beckham wore the patch. Tom Brady, according to Ivory Sully, who did a podcast a couple weeks ago, he says Tom Brady wears these patches. And you know that these are athletes that don't do things that they can't trust. And the Olympic athletes are never going to put anything on their skin that's going to put any kind of drug in them that is going to cause any kind of disqualification. So the fact that they trusted this product is saying a lot. And we talked a little bit about the fact that it works through photobiomodulation, and that's the process by which light enters the body, causing a chemical response. So let me tell you what people who wear X39 report, and they report this as quickly as 3 to 6 weeks. Now, I will tell you, cellular repair takes a long time. We actually recommend a month for every decade you are old to activate enough GHKCU to get all of your cells regenerated and repaired and activated again. But people talk about pain relief, reduced inflammation, wound healing, energy and vitality, mental clarity, enhanced sports performance, faster recovery from exercise, and improved skin appearance. I have experienced all of those. Every single one. I had an ankle surgery that needed wound repairing. You should see my scar. It's like minimal. I have much more energy, much reduced inflammation, much reduced pain relief. We actually have a patch I'll talk about later called Ice Wave that it removes pain and eliminates, when you're in even like 10 level pain, it can drop you to 0 to 1 immediately within a minute. That is just a phenomenal patch, and that helped me through my pain. But a lot of people, part of why they're depressed, part of why they're experiencing anxiety, part of why they're not feeling great mentally is because they don't feel good physically. And in some cases, this is something in the brain called hypercoherence. There was actually a study done by Chevalier, a SciTech study in 2019. And in this study of the brain, they did EEGs. And if I were to show you on the left, the first session before anybody started this X39 patch, they did in the EEG, the study shows it like a circle of red, 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 red. And red is anxiety, it's PTSD, it's inflammation, it's non-communication. From our perspective, it's like an LA traffic jam. It's like no one's going anywhere. That communication is not happening. So what they did was they did a new test 3 weeks later, and in 3 weeks, you already see colors coming in, blues and greens and yellows, and things are softening. People reported feeling better and having lower negative symptoms. And by session 3, which was 6 weeks later, the study actually showed that people had increased their GHKCU, that it had supported cell and nerve regeneration, that it had balanced that brain, that right and left hemisphere, and balanced it from hypercoherence. Even if they started out with hypocoherence, it got coherence balanced. It improved the nervous system. It lowered anxiety. It decreased brain inflammation. It improved memory and focus and cognitive brain function. And in fact, it improved task processing ease and speed. And it did that in a way that the more complex and harder the problem, the better the results were on how people performed. So those are some of the things that are affecting the brain. I want to share a couple of stories. There are people who report. One lady actually was talking about, her name is Kathleen, and she was talking about her daughter, and her daughter had PTSD. And that PTSD and depression was lifted in 5 days on X39. The symptoms, I can't say that the disease itself, but the symptoms lifted, and she was feeling better in 5 days. Another person reported that after 8 months of using the patch, and I don't know when exactly her lift began, but her PTSD and her anxiety, she had tremendous improvements from the symptoms right away. From the third day, she could feel the sensation in her skull as though her brain were healing. After 3 months, she no longer had trouble speaking or making sense of the world. She was able to speak with people, be more confident, which was just not the way she was previously. She had decreased symptoms of the PTSD, trauma triggers, anxiety, and just finding it overall easier to clear emotional issues. There are a lot of military. Here's somebody that was Tom X39 for 2 years, and his PTSD, he would say all of the symptoms are gone. There's another Sky, 42 years old, after 14 months on the patches. He says that his symptoms of PTSD and lack of concentration are gone. There's a 14-year-old who suffered, and in 3.5 weeks, her symptoms of PTSD and depression were gone. Nina was hit by a car at age 11 and had brain and spinal damage. And 6 months later, that brain damage, she can think again, and she is feeling great, and her PTSD is gone. People that have suffered traumatic brain injuries, anxiety disorders, there's just hundreds, there's thousands of testimonials from whether it's an accident, or I have one Sid who was a veteran, retired Army and Green Beret. He reported that not only did his symptoms of PTSD go away, but he's no longer on strong pain medications. He's no longer on sleep medication. He's off all of his antidepressants. His blood pressure is starting to normalize. He's happier. He's had weight loss. So, there's just endless examples of people who have had this PTSD and who have cleared their ability to respond. And I think we think of the brain I think, particularly with mental health, like, just suck it up and deal with it. But what we don't think about is that it's an organ, and it could have issues that need help. It needs more blood. It needs more oxygen. It needs more blood vessels communicating properly. And, that's just not something you can knuckle through. That's something that needs some assistance. And that's what GHKCU can do for you. And guess what? When we went to Mexico and we did all those IV stem cell therapies, we didn't really experience any improvement. Now maybe it helped with the decline, but I don't know. And maybe it was because we had so much inflammation in our bodies that the inflammation just ate them all up. I don't know. But I can tell you that we spent over 10,000 for an IV for just my husband. And this entire sleeve of 30 days of patches, so 30 patches, because you put it on for 12 hours and then you take it off, and then you put it on for 12 hours and you take it off for 12 hours. This sleeve of patches is $99. $99, and people are experiencing results in 3 to 6 weeks. So it's just insane that it's not more, people aren't aware. They could be making a huge difference. I mean, it is exploding. I will say that the company's exploding. In fact, we're 20 times larger today in the last 4 years since the X39 patch came out than we were. I mean, we've been around 20 years, but in the last 4 years, it's just exploded because of testimonials and word by word mouth of people that are just so excited and passionate about it, like me. Like, I will tell you, honest to God, if you would have asked me 6 months ago if I would ever get on a podcast ever and talk about my life, my PTSD, my depression, my issues, absolutely no way. And now I feel like, if I can be vulnerable for a little bit of time and transparent and brave, I can help people feel so much better. And if somebody would have done that for me 4 years ago, where I could have heard about this product and I could have gotten on it, my husband would not be where he is today. And maybe will work his way all the way back. I don't know, but I can tell you I'm able to deal with the situation I'm in right now because a care provider is a tough role. Every single hour of every single day, it's a tough role. And it could be very easy for me to fall into depression again, or anxiety, or just have challenges. But these help me every single day. And there's a whole suite of patches that do that. I want to speak for a brief moment about cardiovascular health, because the brain is, we think of, we talk a little about the brain and the gut, and this is just tremendous for people with gut issues. I will only say that I have a very dear friend who had microscopic colitis for 6 years and had tried IV stem cells, steroids, antibiotics, everything. Nothing was working. And for those of your audience that don't know what microscopic colitis is, it is chronic diarrhea. 3 times before walking out the door to get her daughter off to school, and then had to know where a bathroom was before coming back because she wouldn't make it. Disruptive to her whole life. And that's 6 years of this. In 3 weeks, on 2 patches, the X39 and the Eon, the anti-inflammation patch, it cleared up. It was just gone. And then a week later, she noticed her plantar fasciitis was gone. So, the gut-brain axis is huge. And so anytime we're healing the gut, we're also doing good things for the brain. But also anytime you're improving the cardiovascular system, you're improving the brain, because those are so connected. We need blood flow to the brain. And in a study that was done at the Biofield Sciences, they found that in 6 weeks, the participants saw improvement in their overarching vascular system. In fact, every 6 weeks, the cardiovascular system acted as if it were 8 weeks younger. 8 weeks younger. I mean, it is just extraordinary. There was on the website, my website, which, if anyone's interested, they can go and look at iamreverseaging.com is my website. And on there are pictures. And one of the pictures is of 4 bulging discs. And the 4 bulging discs are just a mess. And then there's an after picture about after 14 months of X39 and I think Eon as well. And it's no longer there. Like, the surgeon just said, that's impossible. That's a miracle. There's all sorts of pictures of wrinkle reduction and, increased collagen, but, and it looks really nice and it's very impressive for pictures. But I would just say, you know, those scars that look so much better, the collagen that collagen is our most abundant protein in our body, and it's in every single cell, and we need it in our brain, and we need it throughout our body, and we need it every single cell. So if you're seeing improvement in your wrinkles and you're firmer with collagen, that's also a sign of health inside your body. So I just want to point it's not just topical. And there are tremendous people that have had scar reductions. There's also not just a million testimonials, but we know that people have done a lot by trying to get hair growth by actually injecting stem cells into their hair. Well, we have reports that are impressive in just 6 weeks of hair growth. And I actually experienced this. I have all of these baby hairs because they just like sprouted, and they're a little unruly. My husband has a big bald spot that he's had for 20 years. As long as I've known him, he had a very significant bald spot, and his hair was gray and a little blonde. But he has chestnut brown hair growing into his bald spot, like all in it. It's like now it's just like this big. It's very tiny. So it's growing in, and that's just really, again, just a sign of good health, a sign of improvement. The other thing I would say is that there are a lot of people suffering from depression and PTSD and issues that came about as a result of the big bad virus. This has been hard on our community at large, from kids to adults being locked in and not being able to get out. It's been hard on the mental health of our society as a whole around the world. And there is a patch. So we've known for a long time that glutathione is the body's master antioxidant. It's an immune booster. It's the primary antioxidant for detoxification. And I was actually taking glutathione before I ever learned anything about the patches. Glutathione protects DNA from damage. It not only does that, it initiates repair to damaged cells and protects and rejuvenates stem cells. In a study done a while back, glutathione is known to protect and rejuvenate stem cells. It's also known to increase length of life. Did you know that the people who live the longest in the world, in the blue zones and others, they have the highest levels of glutathione? It does a lot of things, including helping regenerate cartilage, increasing collagen, and improving organ function. It also protects the myelin sheath, and that's very much associated with neurological disorders, particularly Parkinson's. So protecting the myelin sheath has been known to have people have reverse symptoms. I will tell you a quick story that's not related to glutathione initially, but a friend of mine that had been diagnosed with a very significant neurological disorder that causes the tremors. She couldn't hold a glass of water without it just swirling everywhere. She had to hold her wrist to hold a fork to just be able to eat because her tremors were so severe. 3 weeks on the X39 and the Eon, and her tremors stopped. She can now hold a martini glass full to the top with water, and it doesn't spill. It was miraculous. She basically came over at the 3-week point and said, I want every single patch. I'm all in. She was the biggest skeptic going in. She's like, Darlene, I don't really see how this little patch is going to do anything for me. But I was like, just let's, what do you have to lose? It's not even that expensive. Just give it a try, put it on, take it off. It's not even a drug. There's nothing going in your body except light. It's causing your body to balance and improve itself. So she did. And she's now talking like I'm talking. Anyway, but the other thing that, getting back to glutathione, it detoxifies heavy metals, which is a part of the problem of the brain. A lot of military, particularly, I think my husband took in a lot of jet fuel. He was a naval aviator for 30 years. He landed on an aircraft carrier 1,200 times. He spent 11 years at sea, on the water at sea, and, breathing in all sorts of toxic fumes. So I think that part of the challenge is getting those out. They go in, but they don't come out. And so one of the things that glutathione does is help particularly detoxify heavy metals. It also is known to help remove spiked proteins. So if you think about anybody who had the big bug vaccination or boosters or contracted the big virus, they have spiked proteins, and those spiked proteins can cause long-term problems to the heart, to the brain, to everything in your body because they don't function properly. They're not shaped properly. They have little horns and a little tail. They don't look right, and they don't act right. And glutathione can help remove those spiked proteins with X39 and Eon. It takes those three. What I've been talking specifically about glutathione as a whole. Let me speak to the fact that we have a glutathione patch, and where an IV, I was getting IVs of glutathione beforehand or taking glutathione orally. The IV was the better way because it bypassed the stomach. When you take an IV of glutathione, your body raises glutathione 27% for 7 minutes. Our patch raises glutathione 300% on average, and it stays there for 24 hours. So there's just a host of products and suites that a suite of products that do a lot of things. You know, a patch on for carnosine. Carnosine is tremendous for the neurological system. So talk about improving, you know, memory and cognition and athletic performance. A lot of people know about carnosine, a lot of elite athletes and power hitters, but it also helps defend against fast-growing cells. It's helpful for people that have heart and blood sugar issues. We have a lot of different patches in the portfolio that people can explore on the website and get more information by reaching out. I'm happy to help with people. There's one other patch that's really significant. It's called X49. So X39 is the one I've been talking about. It is the patch everyone starts with. If you only did one thing, you could start with X39. I recommend that you do X39 and Eon so you get that inflammation down while you elevate your GHKCU. But X49 is also a stem cell activation patch, and it's activating AHKCU. So we don't get to tell our stem cells or our foundational cells, depending on which country you're living in, where to go to start their repair and rejuvenation. But AHKCU that is elevated by X49, it is found specifically, it likes to hang out in the heart and the brain and the cardiovascular system. So we find that by elevating AHKCU, we improve performance, energy, strength, stamina. In fact, it supports a healthy cardiovascular system, focus, cognitive functions. And I love this one. It induces faster recovery from exercise. One of the things that I was having trouble with was inevitably I would work out and I would be so sore. I would be so sore afterwards that I just would think, I just don't like this. I don't want to do this anymore. And I would not want to work out real hard. And what this does for me and a lot of other people report is it really helps you. You don't feel that same soreness afterwards. It also increases bone density. And, you know, I'm 58. And so as a 58-year-old woman, I want to protect my bone density. Normally it's just declining, but this actually increases bone density and promotes lean muscle mass and fat loss. So one of my problems was I was struggling to lose weight and I was doing all the right things. In fact, I finally met with a trainer and he's like, you need to eat more. You're not eating enough. But I was just really struggling. And I didn't want to lose muscle because that's how most diets are going to take that muscle right off. And I, you know, I'm not happy when I'm not eating. I don't feel as good. None of us feel as good. Diets are very anxiety provoking too. It's not good for our mental wellness when we're dieting. So I was trying to come up with a way to get back in great shape and build that muscle and fat loss without it taking away, without it just being about not eating. And this does that. In fact, there's amazing studies that show how quickly in just 2 months it increases that muscle mass and reduces body fat. But the other thing it does is it reduces phone radiation it acts like a Faraday cage. It's just amazing. It also activates vascular endothelial cells to support healthy blood flow. So there's just a ton of different patches. They do a lot of different things. The very first patch was energy enhancers. That was the first patch that you saw a lot of elite athletes wearing because 6 out of 7 Stanford swimmers broke their personal best record the first day wearing the patches. You know, so not only, you know, we were talking a little bit about weight, and they burn an extra 300 to 600 calories because it's getting to your mitochondria and it's helping fat burning improving at the mitochondrial level, as well as offering anti-aging benefits. So there's a patch that helps sleep and by elevating melatonin and also serotonin. So we all could use some better sleep, particularly people with PTSD or anxiety that are sitting there going through. And I've been there where I'm working through everything in my head and just not getting to sleep, just running through it. So anyway, I've thrown a lot out there. Tim, you want to pipe in and ask a question?
Wow, I'm convinced. So underneath this gorgeous exterior, there's an absolute train wreck going on. I mean, I've got rheumatoid arthritis, I've got
Yeah,
osteoarthritis. I'm under
yeah,
the orthopedic surgeon. We're discussing when would be the right time to replace a hip and a knee. so,
yeah. Yeah.
so I'm a
Ooh.
physical wreck.
Well,
So
I will
anything
tell
that
you that
that helps.
that ice wave patch, I mean, my husband has lower back or hip pain, and the ability. What happens is you stop moving as a result of arthritis and these things. You stop moving and you lose flexibility, and that just creates more problems. When you're, what I didn't know, and I just learned in the last 6 months, I didn't understand that pain is actually blocked energy. So if you can get the energy flowing, you actually
No,
can
no,
reduce pain.
no. Pain is God's way of telling you you're still alive.
I like
That's
that.
the,
I like
that's
that.
what I reckon anyway.
That's right. So what we do is we put ice wave on people, and that helps them feel the relief from the pain, while X39 and the Eon take time. I mean, a month for every decade you're old, that's going to take some time. But I actually have a lot of testimonials of people who literally only wear the ice wave for like 2 weeks, and in 2 weeks they're feeling better from their various issues. And is I have never done anything more fun in my life than patch people with ice wave. Imagine, I mean, I was getting blood drawn and my phlebotomist was wincing, and she's like, I'm like, are you okay? And she said, no, I can barely stand up. My knee hurts so bad. And I said, do you want me to get you out of pain? And she said, well, how can you do that? I said, let me just do it. I just put these two, the white and the tan patch, right on her knee, and bam. I had asked her beforehand, what is your level of pain? I said, 1 out of 10, 1 to 10. She said, it's a 12. I said, well, okay. I put it on. I said, now what is it? And she said, it's gone. And she just burst into tears crying. She was so happy. She danced around the little lab. She couldn't believe it. And that's so Ice Wave is the only one that works like that, by the way, is that demonstrative. There are a lot of people who do experience X39 and Eon have relief of pain like in 20 minutes or so. But Ice Wave is the most demonstrative patch. And imagine doing that over their clothes. So people are just very incredulous, like, I just don't know about this. This is just really hard to believe. And you put it over their clothing, and all of a sudden it's gone, and they're like, "What? Wait, what? Wow! It is so much fun."
So, so how is it not picking up on the sort of the wider medical fraternity? Is it because it's new and they prefer they're getting backhanders from the major drugs companies and stuff like that, or what's the outlook on that?
Well, I can tell you what I think myself, Tim, and I don't know that it's certainly not going to be a life wave statement, but my personal opinion is that, I mean, if you think about the fact that we're just starting to really take off, and the moment we do, the FDA comes out and says, no, no, you can't say you activate stem cells. You can only, in fact, even though you have studies that prove that, you can't say that. So,
Yeah,
from my perspective, that's big pharma and FDA and everybody clamping down and trying to own. Basically, they want you to be on drugs. Their livelihood is based on you taking their drugs. And if I told you I could give you a patch and you never have to take any of the medications that are for PTSD or anti-anxiety, and it has no drugs, they could go out of business pretty quickly. So, I think we have to be very careful about the claims that we make. And so we can't post on social media some of this stuff. We can't go on a news show and claim all the claims that we want. We can say. this is a general wellness product and it helps your body function optimally and improves your organ systems and all of these things. But we do have to be really careful. So that's my personal opinion. I will tell you there are a lot of doctors in our company. At one point, and I don't know if this is true, but I heard that 60% of the LifeWave company was practitioners. I have a very dear friend who is a pharmacist. She is this close, like maybe this month or next month, to quitting her job and stop and no longer going to be a pharmacist. And she's just going to talk about these patches and share the patches with people because she is not in favor of the vaccine. She's not in favor of drugs. She's not seeing improvement in her clients with drugs. Ultimately, they just have to keep taking the drugs. And she is seeing tremendous people turn around and know, their life, their quality of life, their pain, their actual, the core issues. So most medicines don't actually get to the root of the problem. They just take the symptom. And in some cases, they hide the symptom that is really not helping at all. So you stop the medicine and it's still there. Like if you took a blood pressure medicine or a cholesterol medicine, okay, so for the time that you're on that medicine, it's better. As soon as you stop the medicine, it goes back. Well, when you're actually on patches, my husband's blood pressure went from 170 something over 90 something, and now it's 135 over 85. It's there. If he stopped the patches tomorrow, it's still there. We've improved his cardiovascular system, and that is making the difference. None of the medicines I'm aware of actually get to the root of the problem.
Now, I just want to pick up on something you said earlier. You said that you were 58. I don't believe you. I don't believe you. I had you in sort of mid to late 30s.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you. No,
I wouldn't have put you 58.
I have had a long, hard life. I actually have. I had, I made a poor choice twice on who I married, and those were very traumatic experiences for me, both times. The first one was very, very tough. I was lucky to get out with my life, I felt like. Married the weekend I graduated from college. The second one was worse. So that's the girl's father. And that was really, really tough. So I had to do, I was diagnosed with things like chronic fatigue syndrome, fibromyalgia, autoimmune disorders, POTS, where it's postural orthostatic tachycardia, where I just pass out and get faint, which was preventing me from exercising. I couldn't do a squat because I would just black out. In fact, the Navy was investigating what was going on for me, and they didn't let me drive for weeks. And I did tilt tests, and they finally figured it out. Last summer, I could not play pickleball in the Arizona heat. I would just get overheated and black out. This summer, I played pickleball on the. I am playing pickleball in the heat of Arizona summer, and that is saying like I'm just not experiencing those symptoms anymore. And I credit that to so many wonderful things going on. If you were to ask me, well, which patch is doing that for you? I have no idea because I basically started all the patches for my husband and me both. I basically am like, I don't have time to figure out like this is the one, right? Let's throw the whole kitchen sink. I mean, he's got such a serious illness and we have no time. And any single, and it wasn't that expensive, particularly compared to the price of either IV stem cells out in the world or home therapy of bringing someone in to take care of him or ultimately put him in a place. Like those things are grossly expensive. Anything I can do right now to keep him, elevating and getting better and better is just worth it. What wouldn't it be worth, right? What wouldn't I pay? But certainly paying $99 for a month's supply and $49 for the Eon for a month's supply, that's a no-brainer.
Certainly sounds it. And is it available worldwide?
Yes, it is. We are distributing in over 70 countries. We have 15 global distribution centers. We have labs in California and Utah and Ireland. So, it is really available. And that, I love that. And in certain countries, we are considered a medical device. In ours, in mine, it's not. Um,
Did you give it time?
and it just gets mailed to your house. No prescription required. It's basically a consultation. And so, a month ago, I was a stem cell technology consultant. Now I'm a GHKCU peptide consultant, right? Because I can't use the stem cell technology in my title anymore. But I will tell you, I dove deep. Like I have a tendency to research things deeply anyway. So does my pharmacist friend. She actually, the only regret she has is she researched this for 3 months and read every study. I've since read every study. I didn't wait 3 months to do it, but she and I both read all the studies. And the more you read and the more you look into it and the more testimonials you see and hear, you just can't believe it. It's just amazing. But I I just found that in the time in the research and in the worldwide focus, um, there's just nothing better in the world. There's just nothing better in the world. In fact,
Well,
our inventor David, he was actually given awarded the Advanced Technology Award from the International Hall of Fame twice. Um,
well,
it's really, you'll appreciate this, Tim. It was originally developed. His first energy enhancers were originally developed for U.S. Navy SEALs because they were trying to figure out, Navy SEALs, they're trying to stay up four days in a row and no sleep out in the cold waters, right? And were trying to figure out a way to keep them awake without amphetamines and bad drugs, right? Things that were bad for them.
yeah.
And he
Don't
developed.
need speed to keep you going, or
That's
caffeine.
right. Right, right. And that's what I really love the energy enhancer. It's not like a Red Bull or an energy drink or a shot of espresso. It's not like it makes you jittery. It just gives you energy and lifts you up so you don't have that dip. You don't have, you're just kind of keep going like the ever-ready bunny. You just kind of keep going, the energizing bunny. I think I got that wrong. I think it's the energizer bunny. Anyway, you just keep going and going and going and having that energy all day long. And I love that. I love that. No, you don't need caffeine anymore. And for those of you who are just like, I just can't even get through my day without an afternoon shot of caffeine, something. This is amazing.
I can't even start the day without a caffeine. I have to have it before I get out of bed.
Yeah, yeah. Oh gosh. There's actually even a line of products. The Ice Wave is made for pets. So veterinarians use. It's called AccuLife, and a lot of people buy AccuLife for their pets. And it has proven you can actually see scans where the body is red and inflamed, and then just within minutes, 5 minutes, the like a back it goes from red to green and yellow and all cooled down, and it reduces the body temperature about a degree Celsius, and that is because there's this cooling process of getting that energy flowing. So really, if you think of pain and inflammation as heat, then this cooling effect is kind of like putting an ice pack on your body, but you can go do whatever you need to do. You don't have to just be sitting there with an ice pack on your back, right?
Yeah. Or a heat pad.
Or a heating pad, right? I've heard we're getting more and more away from ice these days and more to heat.
I've gone down that road with both of them
Yeah,
over the
yeah, I think,
years.
I think, yeah,
The
yeah.
amount of abuse I've given this poor old carcass. I mean, anything's a break.
Well, you wait, Tim. You start the patches, and then the next thing you know, your viewers are going to be looking at you. Your hair's going to be coming in not gray anymore, and they're going to go, "Whoa!" We've
Oh,
had that
hang on,
happen
hang
with a
on. Well,
lot of.
stop right there. I'll have you know, this is out of a bottle. This is called Arctic
Oh,
Blonde. What they do
oh,
is they
well,
colour
done.
they colour each individual hair. Takes a lifetime to put in.
Well, cheers. A little bit of my blood is out of the bottle too, but I have lots less gray hair now because I used to have to get in there. 3 weeks after seeing my colorist, it would be showing roots, and I would be like, "Oh my gosh, we just were
Gotta do
there."
again.
And now at the 6 week point, I'm like, "Oh, is it time already?" So that's really, really fun. I'm not having to go as often, and maybe one day I won't have to go as often at all. So, yeah, I mean, it's a vanity thing. It's a simple little thing, but it's an outward signal of an inner health issue, right?
Yeah. Well, I started putting this colour in when I was 17. First one started to show up.
Did you really?
Yeah, I was going great. Great at 17. Outrageous.
Wow.
So I blame my mother. She's like this.
My
Well,
my grandmother
Darlene.
was part died with a head of jet black hair. So,
Wow.
mm,
Well, Darlene, thank you so much. That's massively, massively enlightening. And hopefully, what I'll do is I'll put all the boss name in the description. So if anybody out there wants to try the stuff, and I'd probably
yeah.
urge them to do it. I'm certainly going to give it a go, see if it helps me.
Absolutely. I would be happy to help as many, people. You can go on and you can look on the website and read a lot about it. There, you can dive into the studies. You can click on GHKCU. You can see videos, testimonials, doctors talking about it. It's all there. You can also buy it there. But if it's a little confusing and you're not sure where to begin, feel free to just send me an email. There's a way to contact me through there, and I'll get back in touch with you and we'll work through together, look based on what you have going on, where I can speak very, very clearly around, oh, you have this, let's try that, because I can't say all of those things on
Mm,
the wide air.
absolutely. Well, darling, thank you so much. That's been
The honor's
fascinating.
been all mine, sir, and thank you for what you do. Thank you for making mental health a priority that people can talk about and feel comfortable opening up about, and just connecting to others in the world. I think I think most people at some point in their life have hard things happen and experience a response to that. And I think it's more normal than it is abnormal. I mean, I don't know the person that's
I
gone through the life that's just effortless and easy and they've never had a day where they had anxiety and depression or something hard.
I don't think there is a person, to be honest. I think
That's true.
everybody has some sort of little wobble occasionally. Somebody's seen something
Yeah.
they shouldn't have
Yeah.
done that plays on their mind. And that's all trauma is. It's seeing something that doesn't quite fit, and it affects
Yeah.
you in some way. So, Darlene, thank you so much. We'll have a chat in a
Thank you,
minute.
sir.
You're welcome,
Absolutely.
Mum. Wow. Wow. That's all I've got to say is wow. Fantastic. What a tremendous guest. Well, um, I'm certainly going to give it a bash. I mean, guys that watches me regular, they know what's going on. I'm a physical wreck underneath this gorgeous exterior, and anything that helps to take away the pain. I live in pain all the time. It's just one of those things, and you just keep popping pills. So hopefully a patch might help us. So until next week, when hopefully no, next week I'll tell you what's happening. I'm away. I'm scarpering off to foreign climes next week, so I've got a pre-recorded show coming, and I've got a pre-recorded show coming the week after. Couple of fantastic shows. They're on Premiere. You'll be able to comment in the chat box as it goes live. Hopefully, from wherever I'm parked up, I shall be hopefully being able to join in the show as well. So until then, TTFN. Ta-ta for now.